What is up, guys? What is up? And yeah, I think by now most of you guys have heard the news about Shaheen suspect Barmania. Unfortunately, he passed on yesterday, and I thought I'd make a video. I mean, it's an interesting story, his story. So, and I don't normally do this kind of thing, to be honest with you. I'm not much of a tribute person. I'm not much of an emotional person when it comes to these kind of things, but I thought I'd do something now because this is going to have a meaningful impact on our community, and he already has had a meaningful impact on our community. And I think a lot of people are mourning his passing, and I think a lot of people are talking about it right now. So I thought I'd do the same. So this is my version of a tribute to Shaheen Barmania. Thanks for watching, guys, and hope you enjoy it. Let's get started. So this is how it all started. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, I barely remember this car. I thought the first one was the black one. This was the first suspect WP. And according to some of my sources, the reason people named the car, or the reason he got the nickname suspect, was because people thought, how's this guy doing what he's doing? He's got a successful business, something must be going on here. But so he decided to adopt the name himself, and he named this car Suspect WP. Now this one over here, back in the day, had a supercharger and NOS. And back then, it was unusual to have these things. I mean, it was very unusual to have a supercharger and NOS in a car like this, a daily driver. I think they had previous cars that they modded before, because I heard rumors about them with their cars for years and years and years. But this, as far as I know, is the first suspect car. Then, before we get to that one, then this was the one that I think most of us know. This was the black car, and if you look in front, you'll see the L-Speed racing technology. I actually heard about L-Speed racing technology like in 2001 when I had my Golf Mark II, which had an L-Speed racing technology sticker on. And back in those days, like, there was no Google. So I had the sticker, and I didn't know who this company was, but the previous owner had used them. And turns out that suspect was using them as well, and they did some of the work on this car. If you look at the the website address there, that's Urban Racer, that's Calvin Fisher and Zahir. That was their magazine, local Cape Town car magazine back in the day, called Urban Racer, and they covered a lot of the local cars. And this car was one of the most popular cars on the scene back in the day. Now, this is the car that I think most of you will recognize. This is the Bucky, which Shaheen's car eventually became. First it was the silver car, then the black car, and then they transported or transferred everything from the silver car from the black car to this car. I think a lot of this is speculation. Because you hear the stories over the years and stuff. And I interviewed one of the drivers of this car, Hermann Mahnke, but I never actually interviewed Shaheen. And that's, honestly, that's something that I regret a little bit, because we spoke about doing it, but he was so undercover and so behind the scenes. And that's another thing I want to touch on later on, is that he was very much a behind the scenes kind of guy. Even from this point on, this was the last time he drove the car, this specific version. He didn't drive the car again after the black car. The black car became green, and then they started getting some drivers in for this cars. And that's one of the things that I want to touch on. Like, he's widely respected in the community, like almost universally respected. You ask anybody about Shaheen, and there's usually good things to say. But one of the things that I think that goes unmentioned is the fact that most of us that race cars don't want someone else to race our car. You know, I'm very similar in that sense, but I'm starting to grow out of it now. As you get older, you realize there's some young guys that might be a bit faster than me, a bit better than me. And what he did was, when he got to a certain point, he decided to let somebody else drive the car and take the car to different levels in a different way. And he then could focus on running the team. And that contribution alone, I think, is a massive, massive contribution to the industry, because we don't see that often. You get that in top flight motorsport, where there's team owners and very rich team owners that have a whole bunch of drivers or whatever, but not in South Africa. It's not a South African culture thing. We don't take a step back. A lot of our race car drivers are old AF, which is cool too, but what he did was, it was a big deal, and I think he doesn't get enough recognition for that, for taking a step back and letting other younger drivers get behind the wheel. And I mean, that to me it's a huge deal. So I'm pretty thankful that he made that happen, because it sets the tone. You know, you don't have to drive the car. You can be the team manager and let somebody else drive the car as well. So here's the Bucky. This is one of the first iterations of the Bucky. You look on the bonnet over here, it's still got a flat bonnet. There's a teeny tiny little air scoop over there, which compared to anything after this was very different. I mean, this is tiny compared to what happened after this. At this stage, as far as I know, the car started off with gas and supercharger in the other two cars, the black and the silver car, and here they started running turbos. So also NOS and turbos, but it still had the regular differential, regular gearbox, etc. But here you can see the NOS setup, ART stickers over there. And this was the early NOS setup, so still quite small, but you can see it's in the back of the green Bucky over here. That's the old silver one. Then later on this happened. That's the LS engine. LS7 looks like it's 7-liter V8, and wow, just look at that. But still underneath the bonnet, everything is still very much underneath the bonnet. But that changed. Here's some nice old pictures of the car. Quad exhausts coming out the back. The car always looked good, eh? It always looked tight in a cool Cape Town way as well. I like that. At this stage, it was still very much a street car, very much streetable car. But things got serious very quickly. Now you can see the back there, the NOS bottles look a bit bigger. So, and this is the thing about this car. This car was very much evolved over time. It definitely grew, and I think a lot of us in Cape Town saw that growth over time. What initially started out as a top-end car at Saldanha, they only recently took the car to Killarney to do quarter miles. And then they tried to get to the 8-second mark, which I've documented in a video. And eventually they did get to that 8-second mark by quite a margin. So here you can start seeing they're starting to run the fat tires. This is at Saldanha over here. And wherever this car went, it pulled a crowd like this, eh? Wherever this car went, they pulled a crowd like this. Shoo! I think that is the other one. This guy over here, that's Mr. Harris. That's his car. Now, I've taken some of the pictures of his Facebook page. Sorry, Mr. Harris. And his car's got the number plate Respect. He's on the team with Amien and all the other guys. A tight team that has been together for a long time. They travel all over the country together, you know, and it's, yeah. So now you can start to see different changes under the bonnet here. They tried a whole bunch of different setups. I might be getting the timeline slightly skew here, so I apologize if that's the case. But again, this looks like the Good Hope Center over here. Is it? Is it the Good Hope Center? I think that's the Good Hope Center. Probably like a car show at the Good Hope Center. Front splitter getting rocked in the front. Now check here. The light starts to get cut out. Slowly they start cutting on the car. Slowly they start cutting on the car. Sure. This looks good, eh? This looks good. It's got the name on the wheels as well there. I don't even know what's going on underneath that bonnet. There's a lot happening there. There is a lot happening there under the bonnet. This is one of the few pictures that I could find with Shaheen actually driving the car. Shout out to Emil Simmons here for the pic. It's one of the few pictures I could find where he's actually driving the car. This is turn 2 at Killarney, and they're doing a standstill burnout here. But normally Shaheen would, at this stage, he wasn't driving the car much. So it's cool to see a picture of him actually behind the wheel. And this is the thing, he's such an undercover behind the scenes guy. But from the people that I spoke to, I mean, this guy did so much work in the community. One report, one guy said that Shaheen came to him and bought 10 pots of food that cost thousands of rands each. And he's like giant pots of food, like for feeding scheme type things, like Musa pots. And he said, and nobody knows about this, right? He didn't tell anybody about this. Somebody else told me. He did this, bought these pots, paid the guy extra and said, just go distribute this food where you see fit. So he did that all the time, and I've heard various accounts of him doing feeding schemes, handing out bread, stuff like this. And it just shows, man, I mean, even at the track, he would invite people over for lunch. I've been invited over there for lunch, and it's just anybody's welcome. Just come join us, come sit with us. So it's really that giving spirit. He was a giver. And again, in the industry, and motorsport's a very selfish thing, man. I know, because I was selfish when I was doing it. Motorsport's a very selfish endeavor. But this guy wasn't that. This is a cool pic. Show shot photography shout out. This is at Saldanha start line. Again, still running the small wheels at the back. I remember those front wheels. They were running those front wheels for a while on this car. Graham Hank's picture over here. Oh, awesome shot. Same, looks like the same picture. But here you can start seeing the bonnet scoops getting a little bit bigger. Also the mace sticker on the top there. So this is probably where Hermann Mahnke started getting involved. And he started tuning the car, eventually driving the car as well. And you can see the front intercoolers over there. I mean, just look at that, giant intercoolers in the front there. Giant tires, big smoke. Started running aero mods here. You can look at the tape over the bonnet there, because the car's going so fast. They were doing 250 plus k's an hour back in the day, and this car would wheel spin all the way down that strip at Saldanha. I mean, I remember the one event, there were just black lines, 2 solid black lines from the start line up until about like 300-400 meters, some ridiculously long figure. I don't even remember, but we could just see black lines. Now the wing starts coming onto the car. At the back, they start running the wing because they couldn't get traction on the back of the car. And yeah, again, this is another pic from Saldanha. That's Hermann behind the wheel there. You can see getting into the zone. Hermann did mention that this car was surprisingly easy to drive. He says once you get everything hooked up and right, all you got to do is sit there and hold on tight. So it looks like a beast, and it is a beast, but the way the car was set up, it was quite easy to drive. Another thing Hermann told me is that everybody thought that this team was some massive works team that had like a factory somewhere and 3-4 engines lined up, but that's not the case. This was just some guy that had a passion for cars out of Mitchell's Plain and got a bunch of him and his friends to put a team together. Eventually they started outsourcing some things when things started getting a bit more serious, but for the most part it was always like a privateer setup. It was never a works racing team or anything like that, although it did look like it because everybody had uniforms on. And I mean, if there's one way you want to look like a racing team, just all wear the same t-shirt. And here is when things start getting crazy. Shout out to the Pertamina Fast Run guys over there. This is where things start getting crazy. When I saw this, I was like, huh? So, screamer pipes, exhaust, I don't know what exactly those are. Somebody's going to shout in the comments. Somebody's going to shout at me in the comments, I'm sure. But I do remember when I saw that the first time, I was like, okay, then that's different. And again, this was the kind of car where they could have gone 4-wheel drive, they could have gone with a lighter car, they could have gone with a more conventional setup, but they decided to stick with this car because that's what he wanted. That's what Shaheen wanted, and I think it's kind of cool, man. I think it's cool to have a car that's might not be the best option, but because you like it, you decide now you're just going to go down this road and see how far that rabbit hole goes. So I think that's a kind of cool vibe. I dig that vibe. This is a side shot over here with the big tires on. The tires got slightly bigger near the end. But here you can start to see the evolution. It's got the Fastron stickers on over there. And now the car starts sort of expanding into something that's way more purpose-built. Way more purpose-built. This is a little video I made a while ago. I've got a bunch of little clips here of the car that we can watch. When that car came, you know there was going to be some rolling thunder. Eh? Damn. it was an impressive car. It is an impressive car. It's a very impressive car. Let's watch some burnouts. I spoke to Hermann about that and about the burnouts on the car and stuff, and he told me like with this car they didn't necessarily want to do massive burnouts with the car. They just wanted to warm the tires up. So a lot of the times the burnouts were tame, but they were effective. That's Mr. Harris on the left, and that's a picture of the man himself over there. Again, always behind the scenes, we got the Performance Solutions guys there, and they in conjunction with the Mace tuned this car eventually, and you could see it was a team effort. Sure. Yeah, this car just got crazier and crazier and crazier as the months and years went on, and now this I think was one of the last iterations here. The biggest exhaust pipes at the front there, and I mean it's got silencers there on the front, and then this big wing at the back was one of the last additions, and then the very last addition was the LSX engine, which I think is in this picture from Speed and Sound. I think this is the LSX engine over here. I'm not too sure, but that was one of the last iterations, and that's what they started running recently. This is a nice team picture, and again you can see here, you don't know who's who in the zoo, you don't know who the main guy is, but he's hanging around in the background there, just making sure things run smoothly, eh? Yes. Anyways. Yeah, no, this thing got crazy very quickly. And this was a pass that I found on the internet.
The pipe is rolling.
You might recognize the voice in the background.
The car's running straight and through. It's good so far. Getting back out there. Heard some backing up, but let's see what happens. Oh my God! It's 8.8! It's 8.8! It's 8.8! Ladies and gentlemen, it's been done. Suspect has done it.
Sure, fastest car in Cape Town at the time, eh? Fastest car in Cape Town at the time. Whew. Yeah, guys, so that's it from me and my suspect tribute video. Yeah, I don't know what else to say, man. There are certain people in our industry that make notable, valuable, and real contributions to the industry. Some of them go unnoticed, some of them go noticed. But Shaheen Barmania for sure made a meaningful difference to our industry, and for that I'm very thankful. So yeah, cheers, Shaheen.